Hold on to your seats because what I'm about to tell you will absolutely shake you to your core. Imagine this, one of hip-hop's most powerful and influential figures, someone we've all looked up to, is now at the center of what might be the most explosive trial we've ever seen in the music industry. And trust me, it's not just threatening to bring down his empire, it's dragging his entire family into some of the darkest, most disturbing chapters imaginable.
P. Diddy's team is back at it, calling for the entire indictment against him to be thrown out. That means they want all the federal charges against Diddy to be dropped. The defense says there have been blatant violations of Diddy's rights, all at the hands of the government, alleging they're spying on him from behind bars. In a newly filed motion, Diddy's team lists out all the ways they believe the prosecution has sabotaged the case.
Oh my goodness, let me tell you, this isn't just your regular old courtroom drama with Diddy Combs, this is a full-blown saga that's getting more shocking by the minute. And just when you thought it couldn't get any more heartbreaking, the most gut-wrenching moment happened when Christian King Combs, Diddy's eldest son, completely broke down in court. Why? Because they made this absolutely chilling connection between his father's alleged crimes and the tragic death of his mother, Kim Porter. I'm telling you, this isn't your typical celebrity scandal. It's like a twisted web of conspiracy, heartbreak, and legal drama that has everyone, and I mean everyone, questioning everything they thought they knew. Picture this scene with me. Inside Manhattan's federal courthouse on September 17th, you could literally cut the tension with a knife. Every single reporter, photographer, and onlooker was holding their breath as Sean Diddy Combs walked into that courtroom. And let me tell you, these charges, they read like something straight out of a Hollywood thriller, not real life. We're talking racketeering, scandals, and these absolutely horrifying freak-off events. But honey, that was just scratching the surface. And while everyone was focused on the shocking accusations against Diddy, suddenly all eyes turned to his son, Christian King Combs.
Yeah, Jesse, it was pretty interesting because I think, we have seen many photos, videos of Sean Combs, aka Diddy, through the Associated Press, through Instagram. And so to see him kind of in person after being in jail for 3 weeks now was pretty interesting, to say the least. And I say that by being that you would expect him to feel a little defeated, a little gaunt, anything like that. But it wasn't that case. He appeared confident. He stood tall. But most importantly and most notably, when he walked inside the courtroom, the first thing that he looked at was his family. As soon as he saw his family, he just lit up. Another thing to note too is he wasn't shackled, but he was wearing a khaki prison-like jumpsuit when he appeared inside court, and his family appeared on their end very just happy to see him. Now, I will say, when I was inside the courtroom, I was a little bit towards the back right side of the gallery, and so for seeing Sean Combs, I had to look through a few heads and stuff like that. But again, he appeared just kind of confident walking inside that courtroom, and it might have just been the look that his family was there. So let me kind of paint a picture for you as well too. His mother arrived a little bit before 1 p.m. Eastern time today, and then whenever his children actually came into the courtroom, the courthouse actually kind of got silent. It was pretty interesting to see that as well too. So as far as who was sitting by who, you had Janice Combs, who sat by Justin, then it was followed by Chance, the twins, Jesse and Delilah, Quincy, and then Christian Combs, aka King. And so again, once they all saw their father, they all smiled at him, waved at him. And even when we were all leaving the courthouse today, Diddy just blew kisses at his mother and his family members. They didn't say much of anything. I wasn't outside when they had first entered the courthouse, so I'm not sure if they said anything to the press. Previously, they had been very quiet whenever they had entered the courtroom, so I assume it'll be kind of like that as well too.
Now, let me paint this heartbreaking picture for you. Here's Christian, who spent years trying to build his own name in the music industry, sitting there trying to keep it together as they read the indictment. But darling, the cracks started showing, and fast. Eyewitnesses say he was clutching that document so hard, his hands were literally shaking. By the time he finished reading what was in those papers, the poor thing completely lost it, covering his face as he broke down right there in the courtroom.
And so the defense pretty much didn't object to too much inside the courtroom today. Agnifilo also appeared kind of confident during his arguments. I know a lot of people were kind of expecting for the bail or bond argument to be happening, but that didn't happen, and it appeared that the defense kind of, I'm trying to find the right word here, but they were pretty much complying with all the prosecution's arguments and plan to kind of have everything all good and set to go by May. Now, by the time the end of the year is to happen, I forgot like one big turn right here. They did mention that a potential superseding indictment could come. Now, obviously that hasn't happened yet, but the investigation is still ongoing. And so, we don't know a lot of information as far as what that could look like, but it appears that we could expect more charges to come later on, potentially by the end of the year.
And let me tell you what was in that document that made Christian break down. It's absolutely chilling. We're talking about allegations of manipulation and coercion that supposedly went on for decades. These freak-offs weren't just parties, they were reportedly terrifying scenarios where victims were exploited and allegedly kept under control using various substances. If these accusations turn out to be true, and I'm getting goosebumps just saying this, it could completely destroy not just Diddy's career, but the entire carefully crafted image of the Combs family that we've all come to know.
A discovery hearing is scheduled for today in the federal investigation into sexual allegations against music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. More than 30 lawsuits have already been filed against him alleging sexual assault and rape. 3 separate anonymous suits were filed just last week by men accusing Combs of putting drugs in their drinks and then allegedly raping them. The hip-hop star's attorney says these latest lawsuits are, quote, full of lies. Combs has pleaded not guilty to all the federal charges that are against him, and he's talked about some of these civil suits as well. Here with me now is the attorney representing the latest 3 accusers, Thomas Giffra. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
I want to ask you, there are dozens of people coming forward. Some to you, some to another attorney, but there are dozens of people. What stood out with these 3 men to you that made you say, you know what, we need to file this case?
The patterns. Whenever you have a serial abuser, they follow a pattern. Harvey Weinstein had a pattern, Sean Combs has a pattern, and with all 3 of them, the stories are a little different, but the pattern's always the same. Come into my orbit, have a drink, you get woozy, take a rest, wake up to being sodomized. That was the pattern, and it was the same in every single story.
And the details that they told you, can you give me a sense of, was there some detail that sort of stuck with you that said, I have to go forward with this?
Well, I think the person who was his gopher really struck me when he regained consciousness and Sean says to him, I'm almost done, held still. And that struck me. That was a powerful recollection, and I was struck by it, and the rawness and the arrogance actually that went along with it, and the entitlement. So that was the one that really stuck with me.
But wait, because this gets even more heartbreaking. This case isn't just about Diddy's legal troubles, it's reopened painful wounds about Kim Porter's death. You remember Kim, right? The mother of 3 of Diddy's children who tragically passed away in 2018 from what doctors called lobar pneumonia. But here's where it gets really interesting. Al B. Sure, Kim's ex and father of her eldest son, Quincy Brown, has been desperately calling for authorities to take a deeper look at her death. And honey, he's not staying quiet anymore. In this shocking new Peacock documentary, Diddy: The Making of a Bad Boy, Al B. Sure, whose real name is Albert Joseph Brown, spills all the tea about this alleged love triangle between himself, Kim, and Diddy.
You got me acting crazy in front of all these people.
Something is not right with this.
You won't believe what Brown revealed, he says, and I quote, I was told that Combs wasn't too happy about anyone who had a relationship with Kimberly. But that's not even the scariest part. He claims Kimberly warned him, saying, don't do this, don't get involved, you will get killed. Can you imagine? Brown adds that Kimberly wasn't just trying to protect him, she was risking her own life by speaking up. Though he had to stop there because of ongoing legal issues, he promises there's more to come at some point. And remember that bombshell Instagram post Brown made back in October? He straight up called Porter's death a tragic murder and demanded an investigation, even though the LA County Department of Medical Examiner coroner had ruled it as natural causes from lobar pneumonia. Kim was found in her Toluca Lake home just north of Los Angeles on November 15, 2018. She was only 47. Sources told E! News she'd been fighting pneumonia and seeing doctors before she passed. Here's another juicy detail. Before Kim was with Diddy, she had a son with Al B, sure named Quincy, who's now 33, and Al B sure wants to set the record straight about something else too. He says, "I have to keep in mind what people were fed, and this propaganda against me over the years about Puffy did this and adopted your kid. There's no adoption, none. And if you haven't noticed, his name is still Brown."
There have been a lot of names that have come up recently with all of this Diddy drama happening right now, but there is one name in particular we want to talk about specifically. The late Kim Porter, Diddy's ex-girlfriend. And it's strange that her name is coming up and is part of the conversation because it's really centered around her death. And that's what we're going to get into. Now, Sean Diddy Combs, of course, is in the news a lot lately after he was hit with numerous lawsuits alleging sexual assault, sexual violence, physical violence, sex trafficking, illegal weapons and narcotics possession. And of course, his homes in LA and Miami were raided last month. His sons, Christian and Justin, were placed in handcuffs. They were detained, not arrested. This reportedly is all pursuant to an ongoing federal sex trafficking investigation from New York. Now, there have been no arrests. There have been no indictments. There have been no charges other than a Diddy associate who was arrested on charges on the day of the raids. But experts we've spoken to indicate that charges against the rapper and music mogul could very well be on the horizon. But we shall see. Now, with all of this going on, let's talk now about Kim Porter. So who is Kim Porter? Well, Kim Porter was originally from Georgia. She was a model. She was an actress. She presented in fashion shows. She was on the covers of magazines like Essence and Jet. In terms of her acting career, she appeared in projects like Law & Order, Wicked Wicked Games, and The Brothers and Mama. But really where she became most renowned was for her romantic relationship with Sean Diddy Combs. She started dating Combs in the 1990s. They reportedly had an on-again, off-again relationship. They ended up having a son together, Christian. He was born on April 1st, 1998. Now, she had her first son, his name's Quincy Brown, but she had him with a music producer named Al B. Shore. But Diddy actually considers Quincy as his own son. November 15th, 2018, at age 47, Kim Porter is found dead in her home in Toluca Lake, California. LA County Sheriff's Office said that at the time that officers responded to her home at 11:40 a.m., they found her unresponsive. She was pronounced dead on the scene. Initially, an autopsy was performed on Porter the next day, and according to the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner Coroner's Office, the cause of death was deferred pending additional tests. Well, then you fast forward to January 2019, 2 months later, and the office then concludes that she died of lobar pneumonia. Manner of death, natural, had apparently gone into cardiac arrest. It was reported that she had been battling flu-like symptoms in the days leading up to her death and that there were water bottles, sports drinks, even Pedialyte were all in her bedroom. Days after her death, Combs commented publicly about Porter's death for the first time, writing on Instagram, quote, "For the last 3 days, I've been trying to wake up out of this nightmare, but I haven't. I don't know what I'm going to do without you, baby. I miss you so much. Today I'm going to pay tribute Today I'm going to pay tribute to you. I'm going to try and find the words to explain our unexplainable relationship. We were more than best friends. We were more than soulmates. We were some other S. And I miss you so much. Super Black Love."
And just when you thought this story couldn't get any more mysterious, there's this controversial memoir that surfaced, Kim's Lost Words, A Journey for Justice from the Other Side. Now, I know people are questioning whether it's real or not, but let me tell you something. The claims in this book have everyone talking again about Porter's untimely death and her complicated relationship with Diddy.
Again, I can't dictate what others believe. I'm just telling you what's out there. Some believe that that memoir is real. They point to an interview that was done in 2012, so 6 years before her death, where in the interview, Kim talks about wanting to write a book. I will say it doesn't appear that she's referencing a memoir or any sort of tell-all book at all. She says,
but I've been in the business and been around the business. It's become a phenomenon. It's a culture. It's a, it's just for me, I wanted to present something beautiful and package it and almost like an ode to them, to what they've done.
Some netizens think that she's just using that as a cover to write a memoir. Some netizen comments read, if this book is false, how come the author hasn't been sued? I mean, I really hope it's fake though, because there's a lot of crazy there. Another comment reads, the more that I listen to folk coming up against the book, the more I believe in its authenticity. Others reference Chris Todd's interviews and they say, this man got too much confidence not to have proof that Kim wrote this book. He got some type of proof somewhere because he just has too much confidence. Another says, what if a close friend of Kim's had the actual book and flash drives but is just too scared to come out because they're too interconnected and is using this man as a front? Guys, think about it. Another comment reads, this is a lot of to make up. I can see some things being true, but who knows? Then there's another group of people that, yes, they want her death to be investigated, but they don't believe that she wrote that book on Amazon. They comment, that book at first glance, this reeks of a shamelessly fabricated cash grab attempt. I don't know, it just seems a little too convenient, and the stories that I've seen excerpts of appear to be someone just wildly producing sensationalized garbage and toxic gossipy bullshit. I hope for the sake of any potential victims that these things did not occur.
I wish, for the sake of Kim's family, because bruh, if you know what I know, he put Kim in a gold casket, then has security, 24-hour security at the funeral home, so nobody would go in there and touch the casket or take Kim out of there. I think that they should reopen our case and have an independent pathologist look at everything about her so she can rest in peace. So, I know people, paperwork, and this other young lady on the internet, they are spearheading the reopening of Kim's case. And I hope they do.
Now you're probably wondering, what exactly are these allegations and why is Christian being pulled into this mess? Let's rewind for a moment because this is where it gets really disturbing. The unsealed indictment isn't just pointing fingers at Diddy, it's painting a picture of something far more sinister. According to prosecutors, Diddy allegedly hosted these secretive events where young women were lured in under false pretenses. And what happened at these events? Well, let's just say it's so graphic and disturbing that I can't even share the details here. These freak-offs weren't just parties. They were allegedly carefully orchestrated scenarios designed to leave these poor women with absolutely no way to escape or resist.
Displaying and distribution of unregistered illegal firearms, Diddy providing laced alcoholic beverages to minors and sex workers, Christian Combs woman, Mr. Combs Diddy detailing how he planned to leverage his relationship with famous pastor T.D. Jakes to do damage control.
Oh yeah, T.D. Jakes. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, he told Little Rod allegedly that he uses him to do damage control.
Whoa.
Which I personally, in my opinion, I would find that a little believable with his constant bringing up of God while he's doing allegedly very demonic stuff.
Yeah.
He also alleges in his lawsuit that Young Miami of City Girls, her cousin, essayed him, that actor Cuba Gooding Jr. essayed him and him, that redacted rapper, the name is redacted on the lawsuit, redacted rapper on the yacht was consorting with underage girls. Redacted R&B singer in Diddy's LA home was consorting with underage girls and sex workers. So these are the serious criminal allegations that he's bringing forth in his lawsuit. He claims he witnessed the Combs family allegedly, potentially, maybe, shoot someone, which we will cover that more in part 3, but Rodney Jones alleges in his lawsuit, throughout his time living with Mr. Combs, Mr. Jones was the victim of constant, unsolicited, and unauthorized groping and touching of his anus by Mr. Combs. A brief list of allegations further include, now again, these are allegations, Diddy would shower and walk around naked while forcing Rodney Jones to work in the bathroom, which is already odd. Rodney said that he told the chief of staff, Christina Courtroom, who is now being compared to Ghislaine, that he was very uncomfortable, but she just downplayed it all as friendly horse playing. That's just Diddy's way of showing he likes you.
What's horse playing?
Like, boys will be boys. Horse playing is like play fighting. I mean, I wouldn't even give that excuse if I had a son who's 7, let alone a middle-aged man.
Imagine being Christian, sitting there in that courtroom as all of these horrifying accusations about your father are being read out loud. And while he's not named as a defendant, civil lawsuits are already dragging him into this nightmare. One woman, identified as Grace Omar K., has filed a lawsuit claiming both Diddy and Christian were involved in misconduct during one of these infamous gatherings. Can you even imagine the weight of that?
What's happening is In Touch is reporting that Christian Combs, Sean Combs' son, was served with legal paperwork at his father's Miami mansion. And that was the property that was raided by federal authorities earlier this year before Sean Combs was arrested on sex trafficking, racketeering, and prostitution charges. By the way, that Miami mansion seemed to be the same property by which Sean Combs' legal team was saying that's where we're proposing Sean Combs stay on home confinement if he's granted bail. Now, the current judge overseeing this case, Judge Arun Subramanian, said no, Miami's not going to work. If he's going to do home confinement, has to be in New York. But it doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, Judge Subramanian denied Sean Combs bail. That was the third time that Sean Combs had actually been denied bail in total. Now, going back to this legal paperwork that Christian Combs was served, according to In Touch, this came from Grace O'Markey. This is somebody we've spoken about before here on Sidebar. She was the one who filed a lawsuit against Christian earlier this year. And we remember that O'Markey's civil lawsuit accuses Christian of battery, sexual, intentional infliction of emotional distress for an alleged incident that happened on Sean Combs' yacht back in 2022. And I'm going to talk about the timing of the service of these papers in a second, but first I want to recap this lawsuit for you. So according to the civil complaint, O'Markey, 25 years old at the time this happened, allegedly happened, says that she was working as a steward on the yacht that Sean Combs had rented or chartered, and she was in charge of providing food and drinks for a 12-hour period. And she actually said that she believes the alcohol on that yacht had been laced with, because she says that women would have one drink and then almost immediately pass out or start falling over. And again, that is very consistent with allegations that have been made before against Sean Combs. In fact, she described what she thought would be a wholesome family excursion to what she describes as a hedonistic environment. Now, going back to Christian Combs, O'Markey says that Christian, he'd been staying at a villa on the shore, but then he would come onto the yacht in the evenings to party and have a good time. And now we focus on December 28th, 2022. She says that Christian reportedly arrives on that yacht very intoxicated and then pressures her to take shots of tequila. She says that she did, that Christian allegedly tried to get her to drink more, and she tried to get her to drink more in the yacht's makeshift recording studio. And that's important, and I'll explain why in a second. The complaint reads, at this point, defendant C. Combs violently grabbed plaintiff's arm and began hurting her. He pulled plaintiff to the seat beside him and prevented her from getting up. And she says from there, she claims from there, that Christian allegedly kisses her neck and face as he gropes her legs, her breasts, her private areas. And according to her, she reportedly tells Christian, quote, excuse me, you don't touch my legs like that. I'll move my legs where I want to. If I want to do this, then I will. You don't touch my legs like that.
As we all wait with bated breath for this trial to unfold, one thing is crystal clear. This story is far from over. Will we witness the complete collapse of a music empire, or will there somehow be a path to redemption? And what about the Combs family? How will they ever navigate the legacy of one of music's most complicated and controversial figures? I have to tell you, my heart is racing just sharing all of this with you. If you're as invested in this shocking story as I am, don't forget to smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on those notifications because, believe me, this is just the beginning and you absolutely do not want to miss what's coming next. The revelations that are about to come out, they'll leave you speechless. And remember, we're not just talking about some regular celebrity scandal here. We're watching a dynasty potentially crumbling before our eyes with real people, real pain, and real consequences. The way this story is unfolding, it's clear that we've only scratched the surface of what might be one of the biggest scandals in music industry history. Stay tuned, because something tells me there are going to be even more shocking developments in this case. The truth has a way of coming out, and from what we're seeing, there might be a lot more truth waiting to be revealed.